My hope and prayer is that you're going to have a moment, that you're going to have a moment where you wake up, going to have a moment where you think and look, and you're going to see that you are the one. You are the change maker. You are the leader. You are the difference maker in your community and in your family. You are the one, not anyone else. You are. It's you. Yes, you and your unique personality and your unique vibe and how you operate and move in the world. And I say it all the time, leadership is not something for the exclusive. It's for everyone. Every person has a capacity and level of leadership. Hi, everybody. Lee Scott here. Thank you for watching and are listening to this week's episode of Leading with Lee, where we talk about life, leadership, and legacy. And we want to help you discover the leader within. I'm so excited that you are here today to watch this or listen to this. So do me a favor before we even get started and go on YouTube and all podcasting platforms and subscribe to Leading with Lee today. It has been a great honor over the last 2 or 3 years and a half to share about life, leadership, and legacy with you. But I'm so excited for today's episode because this episode is something I've been doing annually over the last few years as I've been doing Leading with Lee. And every time around my birthday, I do an episode where I reflect on the year as it's gone past. And I'm so excited to share today because I have some things that's been on my mind and I've been reflecting about as I'm walking into this new chapter. And as many of you may or may not know, my birthday is on September the 11th. It is a unique day in so many ways. And so when this episode comes out, it'll probably be within a few days of my birthday. But it is a unique day because of, number one, it'll be my 29th birthday, which I'm going to talk more about it being the last year of my 20s. But also it is a significant day in American history because of the things that transpired about 21 years ago on my 8th birthday. And every year is an interesting moment in how people respond and look at what is happening in our country and culture. But today I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about some things that has been on my mind, has been in my heart. And as I reflect on the last year of my life, it has been interesting to see how far I've come. And so I'm going to talk about maybe 4 things. We're going to share some things about the fact that how far I've come, as I just said. We're going to talk a little bit about what has been accomplished in my own personal life and what I've done. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some things that I feel like I failed at. And then what I hope for this last year and the future of my 20s. So let's kind of start there with just reflecting on how far I have come in the last year. This time last year, I was actually living in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and it was a difficult week coming into my 28th birthday. I had gone through a breakup. I had been preparing to figure out what I wanted to do professionally, what I was doing in my life at the particular moment. And it was a hard time. And when I look back at those moments, I can see and reflect on what it took for me to get to this moment. And in spite of everything that had happened, it was a heartbreaking time, but it also was a beautiful time because I had just finished up my master's about a month earlier. I had been considering some things about what I wanted to do in my career and have been working, continuously doing leading as I have been doing for the past 2 years. And I was really considering all the things that could possibly happen throughout the process of me moving forward. And then in November, around my birthday, a little bit after my birthday, I made a decision that I was going to move back home. It's been my heart's desire since I first left Mississippi back in 2014 to come back home and be a part of the transformation and change that could happen in my city and in my community. And I'd always been dedicated to that. I dedicated so much of my work and so much of my thought processes and so much of the projects that I did in college were dedicated to what I could see happening in my city and my community. And I look back over those 8 years, 7 or 8 years, that really 7.5 years really, that shaped me, and really am grateful for every trial, every tribulation, every heel, every setback, every moment where I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm being successful in the ways I want to be successful, that I can look back on and say, man, these were the moments that made me who I am today. And these were the moments that transformed my life and brought me to this moment. And I think what's interesting is when I first moved to Tulsa in 2014, I was 20 at the time. I was 19 going on 20. I had turned 20, and well, it was 20. It's 20 going on 21. But I first went, or I was like, yeah, 20 at the time, I think. And I had gone there and had this experience with this place. Didn't know how much it was going to change my life. Had no frame of reference. Had never lived in Tulsa. Didn't know what was going to happen. But I look back on those 7.5 years, and I'm extremely grateful, because I think it prepared me for where I am today. And there may be somebody that watches this or listens to this, and you say, Lee, you share these stories about yourself, and you're sharing kind of your story and how your genesis and how you've gotten to this point. And I can tell you, in spite of it all, the good things, the bad things, the things that may have worked or didn't work, I'm grateful, because it has made me the person that I am today. And as I reflect, I want to share a little bit more about just what I've seen in my life over the last year, and going through the things that I stated earlier that I went through at the beginning of my 28th year, where it was not fun, was not a good feeling, but it was a great lesson in that when you're pursuing the things that you want to pursue, there are just some things that are just going to happen in order for you to pursue things that you are dreaming about and thinking about. And so I made the courageous choice back in October of last year, as I was still working and had ended my lease, almost was done with my lease in the apartment that I was staying in, and was having the shuffle happen in my life. I started thinking about it, talking to my family about it, praying about it. And I started reflecting on some moments that I had had earlier that year. There were moments of, hey, it's time for you to change. It's time for a move. It's time for you to do something different. And I constantly kept seeing that this moment in my life was coming to an end. This chapter that has pretty much dictated the last decade of my life and really has influenced who I am as an adult up until this point, is coming to an end. And I'm super excited, because as I reflect over this last year, I moved back home to Mississippi in November. And when I came back home in November, I didn't have a job. I didn't have a lot of things lined up the way that I probably would have liked, but I knew it was the right decision to make. And within the first month or so of me being here, I reconnected with an old friend of mine. He's become probably one of the most critical people in my life. I see him almost every week, which was great. And we're doing life together and growing together. And I started checking out different churches and different things like that within the area, and trying to figure out where I want to get planted and where I was going to go. And all these different things was happening. And I was looking for work, and I was looking what was going to be the next chapter, what was going to be the next step that I make in my life, because I don't know what I want to do professionally right now. I know where my ultimate goals are. I know what I'm dreaming about. I know what I believe is possible in my life, but I don't know how I'm going to get there. And as I went on, one of my best friends from my childhood introduced me to a gentleman by the name of Samuel Boland. And Samuel and I ended up having a conversation about what I wanted to do and some of the things I was dreaming about, and me just moving back to the city, and how that process came about. And Sam and I started talking about this organization called Jackson Leadership Foundation. And this great nonprofit that was serving about 18 or 19 nonprofits throughout our city, throughout the city of Jackson and our communities that were doing great work and making a difference in people's lives. This conversation led to follow-up conversations and other conversations. And then I did a little bit of time. I was driving for a behavioral health clinic here in the area, but we continue to have those conversations. And he was talking to me a lot about, man, I really believe you have the capacity to mobilize and transform people's lives and do these great things. And so a few months later in February, we had another conversation. We had a conversation in January. I was on a flight to Colorado, actually, going to support a friend of mine who was getting married. And he calls me and he says, hey man, I think this position is about to become open. And we have this conversation, and it leads to us just talking about what it would look like for me to come to Jackson Leadership Foundation and come on the team. And go on and we have another conversation in February. Then I come in March and meet the person who went before me. Her name is Mariana Stone. And I'm so grateful to Mariana for the time that she gave me to try to help me transition. And I took the job, and I took a leap of faith and took a step forward in a very uncomfortable space for me, and a very uncomfortable moment for me, because there were so many things that had happened up until this point, and it was a unique moment. And I think if I look over my life the last decade, I can tell you there were many moments where I took a lot of risk. Moving to Tulsa was a risk for me. I had no family there. I had no relationships there. I had no frame of reference there. And there are many people who may be listening or hearing this right now or watching this, and you're saying to yourself, well, I don't know what the right move for me is. I don't know what the next step is going to look like. And you're asking yourself, what would it look like for you to take a risk? What would it look like for you to take a step? What would it look like for you to do something unprecedented for yourself? And I'm here to tell you that a lot of times the greatest move that we can make in our lives is things that makes us uncomfortable, because that uncomfortability will cause growth. And I have learned in my nearly 29 years of life, and as I celebrate my 29th birthday, that some of the greatest moments come in the toughest times. And I'm grateful because those tough moments actually have prepared me for to be the person that I am today. And so as I look back over this last year, I step into this new space. I had come from corporate America. I've been working for, as I share on here all the time, my credit union for two and a half years or so. Before that, I had worked in like sales and retail. So those were very structured environments, very, this is how it is, right? And to come into a space where my creativity is necessary, my willingness to engage people is necessary, my ability to communicate is necessary, my ability to push other people to think, be thoughtful, and try different things is necessary. All of these aspects were new for me because I had never got an opportunity to do those things within an environment. And though there are a lot of days that are extremely challenging, there are a lot of moments where I can honestly say I'm grateful, because those challenging moments have prepared me to be more effective when it comes down to talking about the issues that matter. And I think there are people that are watching this and are listening to this today. You're having a moment where you're trying to figure out how to navigate what it looks like for you to be someone that takes chances, that does things, and you're moving into a new space and you feel unsettled. And trust me, even as I'm speaking to you right now, I feel extremely unsettled. I have not fully gotten my bearings yet, but I can tell you that it is worth the risk, because I'm grateful for the opportunities and the chances that I've gotten so far with the people that I've met, the lessons that I've learned, the skills that I'm developing and growing. It has all brought me to this moment, and I'm so grateful for everything that I've gone through so far. And so I look over this last year and thought a lot about, in this episode, how to talk about what it looks like to keep being persistent. And recently sports is probably one of the most profound places and interesting things to understand. But recently I was watching a documentary about, it was a 10-part documentary about Tom Brady. And I've never really been a big Tom Brady fan or really been a fan of him at all. But it was so interesting watching this documentary. And the documentary is called Man in the Arena. And it goes on this journey of talking about his 20 plus year NFL career and how he started at one place where people did not expect a lot from him, where people did not see him as someone that could impact the game the way he has, that he was picked in the 6th round of the NFL draft and was the 199th pick. And now he's considered the greatest quarterback in NFL history. And how his work ethic, his ability to push through, his ability to think, his ability to put himself in situations that grew him was so necessary. And I think that tenacity, that drive, that thing that pushed him to be the player that he is today is what has made him become the person that he is. It has been the thing that has drove him to be impactful. It's the thing that pushed him beyond what people expected him to do, because, and why he's been able to play so long is because he was willing to do the work. He was willing to do things that was unconventional and outside of his realm of possibility. And even we've seen in recent months here in 2022, how even we see the same thing with the Golden State Warriors, how they won the NBA title and people weren't expecting them to get this far. They have fallen to like the 3rd or 4th seed in the West and all these things. And even coming into the finals, I saw something on ESPN. They gave them a 14% chance to win the NBA finals, a 14% chance. But because they were tenacious and because they had the right focus and because they were locked into the goal, they were able to win and be tenacious and move forward. And I think for me in my own life, I think there's a level of tenacity that I didn't know that I had, and a level of drive that I didn't realize that I had, that has gotten me to this point. It hadn't all been perfect. It hadn't all worked out the way I thought it was going to work out. It hadn't always been fun, but it has gotten me to this point because I truly believe that the things that I'm doing can leave a mark, an impact on the world around me. And so let's talk a little bit about what has been accomplished. Up until this point, I think a lot about my family, and I think about my parents, and I think about my grandparents, how, I've been so blessed to have parents that love me, that support me, that believe in me, that want me to go after my goals. They want me to go after the things that I want to go after. And I say it all the time on here. No one has asked me to do this. No one has asked me to podcast and blog. My parents were never podcasters. They weren't bloggers. There wasn't something that they were doing. Obviously, they grew up in a time where this wasn't generally possible or a thing that people did, but they weren't people that pursued too many of their goals too hardly, right? And there have been some things they've accomplished in their lives and things they've gone after because they just want to go after. But I can truly tell you that my working class parents and working class folks who were committed to the things that they were committed to. They're committed to their family. They're committed to their faith. They're committed to the people that they want to bring along. That has been their focus. That has been their life. And that has been how they have operated in every aspect. And that influence of them being folks that are committed has driven me to be committed to the things that I say that I want to be committed to, whether it's in friendships, whether it's in romantic relationships, whether it is in work, whether it is in doing this podcast and vlog, whether it's posting clips on social media and nobody sees it, or posting clips on social media and they go viral. Whatever it is more about my commitment and my belief in what I'm trying to accomplish because of what I said I was going to do than anything else in my life. And I'm so grateful because that commitment has stuck with me. That commitment has been the driving force that I spent most of my 20s probably not doing what 20-year-olds probably should be doing, is living their lives a little bit, trying things and being a little bit more free. And I think I'm a little bit more freer now. Post college, I think the last few years, if there's been any indication of freeing people of expectations, is it has done it for me in the last few years, with us all navigating, those of us who survived it, us navigating the last few years with COVID and everything that has happened around these last few years, and just the time we live in. And so I think that for me, it has pushed me and drove me to be committed. I share my story on here all the time about how it took me longer to finish my undergraduate degree because of just setbacks and doors being closed and not having the money, not being able to get financial aid, not being able to register for a class because it's only offered in this particular semester, and all these moments, and going up to the school and having conversations and trying to get this done and trying to get this done, and realizing that in the midst of all these things, this is what I wanted to do and this is what I believe I could accomplish. And because I had the goal of finishing, I was going to do everything I can to finish, because it was not about me as much as I was thinking about my grandfathers who only had third or fourth grade educations. I was thinking about the fact that they were sharecroppers here in Mississippi, and if I could not afford to not finish, because it was more about honoring them than me just getting a degree. And for some of you, this might be the weight that you feel. This might be the thing that you carry around, and sometimes you got to release that. Sometimes you got to give yourself some grace. Sometimes you got to say, maybe not. Maybe I may not need to do that. Maybe I don't need to have that conversation. Maybe I don't need to stay in this place, because it is about getting to the best results and getting to the things that make your life better and make you feel happy and whole. And when I look at the things that I've accomplished up until this point, there's a level of gratitude and a level of tenacity that I think that I spoke to earlier that I have unwittingly had. It's my brother said something to me in the last few years that really struck me, and he said, you're interesting, bro, because as kids you grew up dealing with a lot of fear and timidity, and dealing with a lot of being scary to some degree all the time. And it's striking to me that you are the one person in our family that's done some of the most fearless things. And that really impacted me deeply, because sometimes the thing you are struggling with and you're battling with is a result of your ability to do it. And I think for me, when I look at my life, when I look at what I've got accomplished so far, I mean, going back to my grandfathers, they only got a third grade education, but I have a master's degree. And that master's degree is not for me. It is for them. It is for the chances that they never got, the chances that they never got to go get an education, the chances they never got to go live in another part of the country and not have to worry about kids. And, I know the people listening to this or watching this that are around my age who have kids, and that's fine. And Danny, you're married, and it's great. Fantastic. But not having to worry as much as about some of the things that could be blockers for them. And me getting to this point has been truly a blessing in life, truly a blessing in every aspect. I mean, I grew up in South and West Jackson, and where I come from, there's so many factors in why, to be honest, I'm even alive today. There's so many factors that if it went differently, who would have known what what would have happened? You know, I look back at what happened to me in elementary. I went to Lake Elementary here in Jackson, and when I was at Lake Elementary, I remember quite vividly how I got the opportunity to go to this great, it's this great, or be a part of this great program that middle school kids get the chance to be, or elementary kids get the chance to be a part of, and it's called Open Doors. And Open Doors is such an impactful program because it really shaped a lot of how I see myself and see the world, right? And just Open Doors really created a pocket. It created a pocket of time over a few years for me to get outside of what I was doing. It created a pocket of time for me to go and have some reprieve. It created a pocket of time where, for me as a student, I didn't understand it at the time, but the moments that I got to go and be creative, got to draw and got to write and got to take these problem solving quizzes and all these different things, and those exposure and that experience actually put me in a place where I am right now, where I'm extremely grateful, because who would have known, who would have thunk my life would have been this way had not I had those experiences. And then being in APAC in middle school and high school, just getting those opportunities to be in certain classrooms where, quite frankly, there are other folks that I know who didn't get a chance to, do those things and have an opportunity to build on their skills and grow in their skills and do all this other stuff. And I think, I'm like, man, what if one of those things never happened? Like, what would my life look like? What would my taste be like? What would my experience and exposure be like? What if I had not overcome some things? What if I had not gotten a chance to go to therapy? What if I had not gotten a chance to live in another space and mature and grow up? Like, where would I be? Who would I be? What the type of person would I be had I had these experiences? And I think I've been very fortunate. There's a lot of things that I wish I would have accomplished by now, but there's a lot of things I'm grateful for, because I recognize that I'm one of the few people in my family that has a master's degree. One of the few people in my family that actually has gone to college. And it is not trivial. It's not lost on me that every day that I get up, I have a responsibility to myself to trust and believe that I'm worth it, that I'm good enough, that I'm making a difference. And then also I have a responsibility to those who have gone before me, who have put their lives on the line, who sacrificed, who sacrifice time, who sacrifice their money, who sacrifice all these different things for me to be able to be the person that I am today. And those things are powerful to think about. Even now, as I'm talking to you right now, just the fact that I've been doing this podcast and vlog for 2 or 3 years, and in spite of maybe not having all the things that I would want, not having a production team, not having all those different things, not having a bunch of subscribers in whatever way we want to talk about it, not having those things, it's never deterred me from being committed to what I wanted to say and what I want to share with people. And I hope that when you watch this or listen to this, you'll be reminded that it's important for you to be committed. When nobody else commits to it, you have to be committed, because your commitment is less about them and more about you. It's more about what you want to bring to the world and how you want to make an impact, because people respect consistency more than they respect just saying certain things. It is what you do with stuff. It is how you carry out something. It is how you go about something that really determines whether or not people actually will believe what you say. And I'm super excited to know that in my own life, there's been a lot of me committing to things that I said. I said I was going to do this thing no matter what. And there was a lot of setbacks in the last year, but I kept working at it. I got better at this. I kept being consistent with this. I kept trying with this. I kept trying to create, trying to be creative, trying to be in new spaces. And as I'm still navigating and trying to find my place and trying to settle, it is taking some time. And, I'm experiencing this unique thing of being home, but feeling a uniqueness because this is a different place and I'm a different person. And so I think that it's so important that you keep that in mind, that when you're coming into new experiences and new exposure, you have to be willing to keep pushing forward and keep doing things, because it is ultimately about you accomplishing your goals and you accomplishing your dreams. And I still have a lot that I want to accomplish, but I'll talk some more about some other things that I want to share with you when we come right back after this message.
Hi, everybody. Lee here, and I want to give some information to you. Do you need someone to host an event or come and speak at your event? You can now book yours truly. Book me for your event by visiting www.leeascott.com. I am so excited to connect with you and do work with you. Much love, and let's get started.
And we're back. I'm so glad that you're still here. And if you haven't done it yet, please go back and watch other episodes of Leading. I think you'll be inspired and impacted by this season of Leading. It's been a different season for me, but I'm so grateful for everything that has happened thus far on season 3 of Leading with Lee. And I hope that you've been enjoying our Leading Rewinds. If you're on the podcast thread, it's been great to see folks hear those episodes from last season. But if you're watching on YouTube, please go back and watch that stuff from season 2. Is trust me, it'll really impact your life. Those interviews were amazing. But moving on a little bit, I want to talk a little bit about failure. And it's a difficult subject to talk about, because I think we underestimate the impact of it, and we underestimate those moments that try to push us back. And when I look at my life up until this point, there are many moments where I felt like, man, you sucked at this. Like, man, you're really not good at this. You really didn't say the right thing in that moment. You really didn't handle that correctly. Pride got in the way in this moment. You didn't speak up for yourself in this moment. You didn't say no. You didn't defend the folks that you knew you could defend, because you didn't know how to. You didn't have the language to navigate that. You didn't know what it would mean to do that well. And I look at these things and all these quote unquote failures or lessons. They were lessons in what it means to be someone who deeply and profoundly cares. There were lessons in what it means to be resilient. There were lessons in what it means to never give up. They were lessons in what it looks like for someone to keep trying, because people that keep trying, eventually you'll make some progress. I truly believe that, folks, when you stop trying, you start dying. And I'm not trying to rhyme, but there is something that happens within you that you got to keep trying, because trying takes effort. Trying takes you allowing yourself to do things that are not typical. Trying requires effort. Trying requires you pushing. Trying requires you to do something outside of what is normative for you. Trying requires you to be someone that is tenacious, as I've been talking about earlier. Tenacity has been something that I've realized has been a big part of my life from my birth, the fact that my mother almost lost her life having me overcoming being abused as a child, me overcoming some of the emotional and spiritual trauma that I experienced from being in situations where I was leading at such a young age, but I wasn't allowed to be developed in certain ways as a kid that I needed to develop. And I wasn't protected in some ways because of the things that were just circumstances that were happening around that. And some of the identity crisis that would happen to me because I was trying to please this person, or I felt these things and I didn't know what to do with those things, and how all those moments felt like failure to me. And now at almost 20, now at 29, I recognize those things were lessons. Those things were lessons. And I can look back at my life and say, man, bro, you tried. You actually did not give up. You actually kept pushing. You actually kept being motivated to move forward because you believed at some point that everything that you're pushing forward towards, everything that you're putting your hand to do could play out in your favor because you believed that it was possible. And I think there are people that are watching this or listening to this right now. There is such a cloud, there's such an effort to cause you to not try anymore. We've seen in our country and our society that there's so many moments that feel like gut punches. They feel like cheap shots. They feel like moments that we could not get back. Like, why in the world are these things happening? Why in the world is this person look like they're being successful and they've never done anything right? You know, this things as we think. Why are these people winning? Why is this person getting this? And why am I not getting this? And we have all these things and we get so caught up in all the noise that we fail to recognize that you and I have a decision to make. And in these moments, we have to try. In these moments, we have to say, you know what? This lesson that I'm dealing with right now, I'm going to take it, I'm going to own it, and I'm going to keep moving forward because I recognize that this thing could actually benefit me in the long run, that this thing happened to me, but I know that I don't have to be a victim of it. I can keep moving forward. And many of us are struggling with that. And many of us are trying to overcome the things that have traumatized us, things that have broken us, things that have felt like, I don't understand why this is happening to me. But I trust and believe that if you live through it, you have the capacity to get over it. The reality is you're still alive. The reality is you still can choose today to keep going forward. And I think I've in my own life realized that I've continued to choose to go forward. Even when I felt down, even when I felt out. And trust me, in this last year, I've had a lot of moments where I felt down. The things that didn't play out the way I thought it was going to play out. I did not I'll be quite frank and honest with you. I did not think I was going to come back to Mississippi in the nature that I was coming back. I did not think I was going to come back without a job, single, all these things. That just was not the vision that I had for my life. And I did not think that it was going to take me a while to adjust to being home. I grew up here. I love this city. And like I said earlier, I'm older. My life is different. Some of my best friends have moved away, and some of these things I'm experiencing and I'm hovering and trying to figure out where's my place and who I am and what matters to me and all these things, and trying to do things well and trying to go through all these things. And then to have in my own family and in my own life, I've lost family members in the last year, and those hurtful and hard things and hard moments where literally on both sides of the families, we've lost people in shocking and very unrelenting ways. And that on top of just my self-belief. And those are things that can cause you to step back and say, bro, I just want to give up. Or I just don't want to do this anymore. Or I don't feel like I can keep moving forward. And I'm telling you, I'm saying this to you just as much as I'm encouraging myself even in this moment, is that you have the capacity to keep moving forward. That's all this is about. Life is never going to be easy. Life was never intended to be easy. I literally had a conversation with my sister about this, is that the reality is we cannot choose how things are going to play out, but we can choose how we respond to those things And our responses will determine how far we go. And you and I in this life, there's a lot of choices that are being made around us. We can't control the choices of other people. We can't control the choices that are happening within systems, within society, within businesses. We can't determine that. All we can do is choose how we respond. Are we going to respond with fear, anxiety? Are we going to respond with a level of hopelessness? Because that's easy to do in these moments. It's easy to become angry. It's easy to be fearful. It's easy to feel as if nothing's going to change. And let me say this very clearly, it is warranted. There is some legitimacy to that feeling. But the question is, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to respond differently? Because that's the thing you can control. You can control your response. You have a role to play in how things play out. You have a role to play in what happens next because you have the decision to make. And what I've kind of learned, especially over the last year, and some of the moments that I feel like I was a failure, the moments I felt like I couldn't make it, is that, bro, you that guy. And you have capacity to be that guy. You've done things that have made your family so proud of you. You've gone places that they have not gotten opportunities to go. You've been in situations and rooms that literally you're carrying your legacy and the people that have gone before you with you into those spaces, not because you're so important, but because you've worked hard. You challenged yourself. You said yes to it in the right moments. You made yourself available in the right moments. You've asked questions. You were curious. You were willing to say, hey, I don't understand this thing. Hey, I don't have knowledge of this thing. Please, could you advise me on this? Please, could you give me access? Please, could I just be a fly on the wall? And those things that you've done has gotten you to this moment. And I'm so grateful now at 29 that that's the thing. And as I get close to the end of just sharing, I'm thinking about this next year and what I hope for the last year of my 20s. And if you had asked me 10 years ago, did I think my life is going to look anything like it has looked? I would have emphatically told you no, because I had no scope or no thought process of what this was going to look like. I never expected my life to play out the way that it's played out. I never would have assumed that I would have gotten to do some of the things that I've gotten done. But I will tell you that every step of faith that I've taken, every moment of belief in myself, belief in God, belief in my vision and dreams, even when other people didn't believe in it, even when other people never contributed to it, even when people didn't give me money, me spending my own money, me losing money, me failing at certain things, me not being very good at certain things, me being willing to learn and grow, me being willing to say yes to moments where it felt like, okay, this is kind of outside of the realm of my capacity, but I'm going to try it. All those things have brought me to this moment. And my prayer and hope in this last year of my 20s is that I cherish it and push like I've never pushed before, because I think this is the year that sets up the next 10 years of my life. I think this is the year that sets up my 30s. I really feel like the way I approach 29 can be a huge determining factor on how I go into my 30s, how I see myself. And one of the things that I'm working on, and I've been working on this year, has been my own value and self-worth. Sometimes we believe that people are the personas that we see. I think there's a lot of people that might believe, who might watch this or listen to this, think, man, Lee seems like the most confident person in the world. He seems like the most engaged person in the world. He seems like he cares so much about people, and he's about empowering people, and he's about telling people who they are and speaking life to folks and telling them about leadership, life, and legacy, because he's so great at talking about it. And those things are very true, and those things are not isolated within itself. But I will tell you that one of the things that I am learning is to love myself unconditionally, to love myself not because of what I have accomplished, but for who I am. And that's a hard thing to do when a lot of your life has been driven by what you're able to do. And I guess it's just the, complexity of being the oldest child, is that we're driven so much by what we accomplish and what we do for others that we forget that it's actually more important to love ourselves, to not run ourselves ragged, to really be laser focused on self-care and be laser focused on what brings me happiness. I truly believe that happiness is coming my way more than ever before. I truly believe that peace is coming my way more than ever before, in internal peace and external. Whether it be peace financially, whether it be peace relationally, whether it be peace in my friendships, whether it be peace even in my family, how there's some difficult things that we're situating, and there's some things that I feel about what's happening in my family, and how those things make me feel, and me having the courage to say, it is not my job to fix it. It is not my job to make these things happen. I must protect my peace. I must protect my joy. I must protect my belief about myself. I must protect what I find is valuable. I must protect every aspect of what makes me happy. And I'm super excited for this next year. I'm super elated, as I say, to truly, truly, truly experience a level of joy and hope and belief that I haven't experienced in a while. Because I think, like I said earlier, there's so much that can make us hopeless. There's so many things that have happened to us. I in this moment, I'm thinking about the fact that when I was in the hospital 2 years ago, that how for the first time in my life, there was great fear around me, but I was the most at peace. And I think there's going to be a lot of people who watch this or listen to this. There's something you got to get so focused on or centered in yourself about, that even when turmoil and things are happening around you, even when there's fear around you, even when there's craziness going on around you, there's a level of peace that you need to have within yourself. There's a level of identity and a level of value that you need to have that will help you get through those moments. Because I can be quite frank and honest with you, the only reason why I'm still here and what helps me get up in the morning is obviously a level of belief that I have more to do. I have more to give to the world. I have more that I need to accomplish. And somebody in your mind would say, oh, that's obvious because you're only 29. But there are a lot of people who sadly have taken their lives because they didn't believe that they had something else to give. 28-year-olds, 29-year-olds that have taken their lives or lost their lives, quite frankly, sadly and tragically, for a variety of reasons, because life is not guaranteed. And I think for anybody that's watching this or listening to this, please, I encourage you, do things that you never thought you were going to do in the next year of your birthday life. I know we always make New Year's resolutions at the beginning of a year, but I really think we should make birthday resolutions. Is that you're going to give the next year of your life, the next moment of your life to yourself, that you'll serve yourself better, that you'll speak about yourself better, to yourself better, that you'll give better advice, that you will stand by what you believe, that you'll take more chances, that you will actually engage in ways that are new and profound for you. Because the reality is, is no one can do it for you. Is that you are the most important person in your life. You are. It's not anyone else. It's you. And I hope that when you watch this or listen to this, you will be reminded that people need you. The people need you to be yourself. That they're going to be impacted by what you say and do every single day. That you have something to live for, and whether you believe it or not yet, my hope and prayer is that you're going to have a moment. You're going to have a moment where you wake up. You're going to have a moment where you think and look, and you're going to see that you are the one. You are the change maker. You are the leader. You are the difference maker in your community and in your family. You are the one, not anyone else. You are. It's you. Yes, you and your unique personality and your unique vibe and how you operate and move in the world. And I say it all the time, leadership is not something for the exclusive. It's for everyone. Every person has a capacity and level of leadership. I believe that with all of my heart, because I believe that people together collectively change the world, not just individuals. It's people coming together, believing that things are possible. And those people, when they come together and work together, the world is changed as a byproduct of everybody getting involved. And I truly believe when you believe that you can be involved in something, our world changes because of your imprint on it. We need your impact. We need your story. We need to see who you are. Thank you. And I hope to see you next time here on Leading with Lee. Happy birthday to me and happy birthday to you in this next year of your life. Thank you for watching and or listening to this week's episode of Leading with Lee. If you have not done it yet, subscribe on YouTube and all podcasting platforms. If you want to get more information and connect with me, visit me at www.leeascott.com or follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Lee A. Scott II or Lee A. Scott II. So thank you for watching. Much love, and let's get started.